An elderly couple are driving across the country. The woman is behind the wheel when she gets pulled over by a highway patrol officer. The officer says, "Ma'am, did you know you were speeding?" The woman, hard of hearing, turns to her husband and asks, "What did he say?" The old man shouts, "He said you were speeding." The officer then says, "May I see your license?" Again, the woman turns to her husband. "What did he say?" "He wants to see your license," the man shouts back. She hands over her license, and the officer takes a look. He says with a chuckle, "Tallahassee, Florida. I went on a blind date with someone from there once. It didn't go well at all." The woman, confused, turns to her husband and asks, "What did he say?" The husband replies, "He thinks he remembers you." A woman sends a text to her husband. "Honey, don't forget to buy bread when you come home from work, and your girlfriend Valerie greets you." Husband, "Who is Valerie?" Wife, "Nobody. I just wanted you to answer, to have confirmation that you saw my text." Husband, "But I'm with Valerie right now. I thought you saw me." Wife, "What? Where are you?" Husband, "Near the bakery." Wife, "Wait, I'm coming right now." After 5 minutes, his wife sends a message. Wife, "I'm at the bakery. Where are you?" Husband, "I'm at work. Now that you're at the bakery, buy the bread." A curious young boy named Johnny approached his father with a question that would lead to a series of unexpected and amusing events. "Dad, why do grown-ups like to exercise in bed?" Johnny asked innocently. His father, caught off guard, struggled to come up with a suitable response. Johnny's mother, who was cooking dinner in the kitchen, couldn't help but eavesdrop on the conversation. She was curious to see how her husband would handle the question. The father, trying to think quickly, replied, "Because it makes grown-ups happy, Johnny." This response only led to more questions from the curious young boy. Johnny's next question was, "I want to be happy too." His father, still trying to navigate the conversation, told him that he would have to wait until he was a grown-up to exercise in bed. Johnny's follow-up question was, "But who will exercise with me when I grow up?" His father, trying to think ahead, replied that hopefully it would be his wife. However, Johnny's next question would prove to be the most unexpected and humorous of all. "But Dad, how come our neighbor Sally exercises with you?" The room fell silent, and Johnny's mother, who had been listening in on the conversation, suddenly appeared from the kitchen, looking shocked and concerned. The situation quickly took a dramatic turn, and an ambulance arrived just 10 minutes later. One day at the rest home, an old man and woman are talking. Out of nowhere, the woman says, "I can guess your age." The man doesn't believe her, but tells her to go ahead and try. "Pull down your pants," she says. He doesn't understand, but does it anyway. She takes his privates in hand, feels them for a minute or so, and then says, "You're 84 years old." "That's amazing," the man says. "How did you know?" "You told me yesterday." A wife was making a breakfast of fried eggs for her husband. Suddenly, her husband burst into the kitchen. "Careful," he said. "Careful! Put in some more butter. Oh my gosh, you're cooking too many at once. Too many. Turn them now. We need more butter." "Oh my gosh, where are we going to get more butter?" "They're going to stick." "Careful, careful. I said be careful. You never listen to me when you're cooking. Never. Turn them. Hurry up. Are you crazy? Have you lost your mind? Don't forget to salt them." "You know you always forget to salt them. Use the salt. Use the salt. The salt." The wife stared at him. "What in the world is wrong with you? You think I don't know how to fry a couple of eggs?" The husband calmly replied, "I just wanted to show you what it feels like when I'm driving." Ruth took her boyfriend Bernie home to meet her parents, Mr. and Mrs. Bloom. "What do you do for a living?" asked Mr. Bloom. "I own some property," replied Bernie. "Some property," exclaimed Ruth. He owns a chain of fast-rising retail stores. "And where do you live?" asked Mrs. Bloom. "I've got an apartment in town." "An apartment!" cried Ruth. "He has a luxury apartment in the most sought-after block in Manhattan." "And what are your prospects?" inquired Mr. Bloom. "I'm hoping to expand," said Bernie. "Expand!" interrupted Ruth. "He's planning to buy Bloomingdale's." Just then Bernie sneezed. "Have you got a cold?" asked Mrs. Bloom. "A cold?" shrieked Ruth. "Bernie's got pneumonia." Three Englishmen walk into a bar and spot a Welshman sitting alone at a table. One fellow said to the others, "Let's pick a fight with that Welshman over there." His partner replied, "Wait, we don't want to be arrested. Let's make him start the fight." The third Englishman said, "Wait here, chaps. I know how to do it." He went over to the Welshman and said, "St. David was a flippin' sissy." To this the Welshman replied, "Ah, well, you don't say," and calmly resumed drinking his beer. The second Englishman now tried his luck and said to the Welshman, "St. David was a stupid fool that wore a dress." The Welshman again replied, "You're very sharp, you don't say," and calmly resumed drinking his beer. The last Englishman told his bite friends he knew how to rile the Welshman and bounced up to the table and yelled, "St. David was an Englishman." The Welshman replied calmly, "That's what your mates were trying to tell me." Three elderly men are at the doctor's office for a memory test. The doctor asks the first man, "What is 3 times 3?" The man thought for a moment and answered, "2." The doctor rolls his eyes and looks up at the ceiling and says to the second man, "It's your turn. What is 3 times 3? "Tuesday," replies the second man. The doctor shakes his head sadly, then asks the third man, "Okay, your turn. What's 3 times 3? The third man quickly answers, 9. "That's great," says the doctor. "How did you get that?" "Simple," he says. "Just subtract 274 from Tuesday." Teacher, "What's 1 minus 1? Johnny, 1 minus 1? Teacher, "Yes, if you subtract 1 from 1, what do you get?" Johnny, 1. Teacher, "No, Johnny, try again." Johnny, 2. Teacher, "Okay, let's do it this way. If you have only 1 potato chip left in a frying pan and you take it out of the pan." Johnny, "I know the answer. Cooking oil." A teacher noticed that little Johnny, who was sitting at the back of the class, was squirming around, scratching his groin, and not paying attention. She went back to find out what was going on. Little Johnny was quite embarrassed and whispered that he had just recently been and he was quite itchy down there. The teacher told him to go down to the principal's office. The principal told him to telephone his mother and ask her what he should do about it. He did and returned to his class. Suddenly, there was a commotion at the back of the room. The teacher went back to investigate, only to find little Johnny sitting at his desk with his private part hanging out. The teacher demanded, "I thought I told you to call your mom." Little Johnny replied, "I did, miss. And she told me that if I could stick it out till noon, she'd come and pick me up from school." A general store owner hires a young female clerk with a penchant for wearing very short skirts and thong panties to work the counter. One day, a young man enters the store, eyes the clerk, and glances at the loaves of bread behind the counter. Noticing her short skirt and the location of the raisin bread high on the shelves, he has a brilliant idea. "I'd like some raisin bread, please," the man says politely. The clerk nods and climbs up a ladder to reach the raisin bread, and the young man, standing almost directly beneath her, is provided with a magnificent view, just as he had hoped. Once she descends the ladder, he muses that he really should get 2 more loaves as he is having company for dinner. As the clerk retrieves the second loaf of bread, another male customer notices what is going on. Thinking quickly as the clerk again descends to the counter, he requests his own loaf of raisin bread. With each trip up the ladder, the young lady seems to catch the eye of yet another male customer, Pretty soon, each fellow in the store is successively asking for raisin bread, just to see the clerk climb up to the top shelf. After a few trips, the clerk is tired and irritated. Finding herself yet again atop the ladder, she stops and fumes, glaring at the men standing below. She notices an elderly man standing amongst the throng, staring up at her. Thinking to save herself a trip, she yells down, "Is yours raisin too?" "No," croaks the feeble old man, "but it's starting to twitch." An elderly woman arrives at the supermarket checkout line with bread, milk, peanut butter, and 21 cans of cat food. The cashier says, "Got a lot of cats at home?" Smiling, the woman replies, "Cats? Oh, no, dear. I'm allergic. These are for my husband. It's all he will eat." The cashier, shocked, says, "You feed him only cat food? He'll die." The woman snaps back, "I've been feeding him cat food for 50 years, and he's absolutely fine, thank you very much. Mind your own business." A week later, the same elderly woman approaches the same cashier with bread, milk, peanut butter, but no cat food. The cashier asks, "No cat food this week?" The woman replies, "No, my husband's dead." The cashier says, "I'm sorry, but I told you eating nothing but cat food would kill him." The woman, smirking, says, "For your information, it wasn't the cat food. He was licking his balls and fell off the roof." While a soldier was deployed overseas, he received a breakup text from his girlfriend. In the message, she admitted that she had been with 2 other guys while he was away and wanted to end the relationship. To add insult to injury, she also asked him to delete the new photo she had sent him. Not one to let the situation get the best of him, the soldier decided to have a little fun with it. He went around to his fellow soldiers and asked them for all the photos they had of exes, flings, or just random women they had on their phones. After collecting more than 25 photos, he texted them all to his ex, along with hers, and sent this message: "I'll delete your photo like you asked, but I can't remember which one it is. Could you let me know which one's you so I can take care of it?" The prenatal education classroom hummed with quiet focus as expectant mothers practiced labor-breathing techniques, their partners dutifully following the instructor's guidance on how to offer support. The atmosphere was serene, until one well-meaning dad-to-be brought the comic relief. With warm professionalism, the instructor advised the group, staying active is crucial during pregnancy. Walking is one of the safest and most beneficial exercises. And partners, joining her on those walks is a wonderful way to bond and show solidarity. A thoughtful pause followed, until one man raised his hand with an earnest question. "Would it be okay if she carried my golf bag while we walk?" Cue the collective gasp turned laughter from the moms, the instructor's wide-eyed pause, and the other partners face-palming in solidarity. Somewhere a pregnant woman sighed and added divorce papers to her baby registry checklist. A man who drank too much was given an ultimatum by his wife. "If you ever come home drunk again, I'm leaving you." That very night, he went to the pub, got plastered, and threw up all over his shirt. Panicking, he told his friend, "If I go home like this, she's gone." His friend said, "Relax, put a £20 note in your jacket pocket and tell her someone else puked on you and gave you money for dry cleaning." Genius. He stumbles home. His wife sees the mess and starts yelling, but he holds up a hand. Wait, someone was sick on me and he gave me £20 for the dry cleaning." She reaches into his jacket and pulls out 2 £20 notes. She narrows her eyes. "Then what's the second one for?" He shrugs. "Oh, that's from the guy who pooped in my pants." After being away on business, Tim thought it would be nice to bring his wife a little gift. "How about some perfume?" he asked the cosmetics clerk. She showed him a bottle costing $50. "That's a bit much," said Tim. So she returned with a smaller bottle for $30. That's still quite a bit, Tim complained. Growing annoyed, the clerk brought out a tiny 15-hour bottle. What I mean, said Tim, is I'd like to see something cheap. The clerk handed him a mirror. A woman had terrible dreams. One night she woke up screaming at the top of her voice. She screamed, "Oh my goodness, honey, help me, honey." Her husband woke her up and said, "Baby, what's wrong?" She said, "Honey, I just had the worst dream." Her husband asked, "What did you dream about?" She said, "I dreamed that I was at the top of Niagara Falls. I was looking down at the falls and I got dizzy. I started falling down and some kind gentleman threw out a long rope to me. I grabbed hold of that rope and that's what saved me." Her husband said, "Yeah, I know, darling. Now turn loose of that rope and let's go back to sleep." An old lady went into a bar in Ibiza and saw a man with his feet propped upon a table. He had the biggest boots she'd ever seen. The old woman asked the man if it's true what they say about men with big feet being well endowed. The man grinned and said, "Sure is, little lady. Why don't you come to my apartment and let me prove it to you?" The old woman considered she might never get an offer like this again and was curious to find out for herself, so she spent the night with him. The next morning, she handed him a 50 pounds note. Blushing, he said, "Well, thank you. I'm really flattered nobody has ever paid me for my services before." "Don't be flattered," she replied. "Take the money and buy yourself some boots that fit. Women can be so cruel." A guy was walking through the Sahara Desert, desperate for water, when he saw something far off in the distance. Hoping to find water, he walked towards the image, only to find a little old man sitting at a card table with a bunch of neckties laid out on it. The guy asked, "Please, I'm dying of thirst. Can I have some water?" The old man replied, "I don't have any water. But why don't you buy a tie? Here's one that goes nicely with your shirt." The guy shouted, "I don't want a tie, you idiot. I need water." "Okay, don't buy a tie. But to show you what a nice guy I am, I'll tell you that over that dune there, about 5 miles down, there is a nice restaurant my brother runs. Go over that way, they'll give you all the water you want." The guy thanked him and walked away towards the dune and eventually disappeared. 3 hours later, the guy came crawling back to where the old man was sitting behind his card table. The old man said, "I told you, about 5 miles over that dune. Couldn't you find it?" The guy rasped, "I found it. They wouldn't let me in without a tie." An elderly couple had dinner at another couple's house, and after eating, the wives left the table and went into the kitchen. So Stan and Irv were talking, and Irv says, "Last night we went out to a new restaurant, and it was really great. You gotta try it, Stan." Stan asks, "What's the name of the restaurant?" Irv knits his brow in obvious concentration and finally says, "Hey Stan, what's the name of that red flower you give to somebody?" "A carnation?" No, the other one," Irv says. "Tulip?" "No." "Poppy?" "Nah," Irv says. "You know, the one with the thorns." Stan says, "You mean a rose?" "Yeah, that's it. Thanks," Irv says. He then turns toward the kitchen and yells, "Rose, what's the name of that restaurant we went to last night?" The first one married a woman from Minneapolis and said to her, "When I get back from work, I want the house to be clean and tidy." He didn't see any changes on the first day, but on the second day, the house was clean and tidy. The second brother married a woman from Dallas and said to her, "When I get back from work, I want the house to be clean, the laundry done, and have food ready on the table." On the first day, he didn't see any changes, and not on the second day either, but on the third day, it was as he had asked. The third brother married a woman from Detroit and said to her, "When I get back from work, I want the house to be clean, the laundry done, and have food ready on the table." On the first day, he didn't see anything, and not on the second or third day either. On the fourth day, he could see a little bit with his left eye and had just enough mobility in his right hand to make himself a sandwich. A poor boy but very brave man called Ali. He worked for Ammar, a rich old merchant. One winter's night, Ammar said, "Nobody can spend a night like this on top of the mountain without a blanket or food, but you need money, and if you can manage to do that, you will receive a great reward. If you don't, you will work for 30 days without pay." Ali answered, "Tomorrow I shall do this test." But when he left the shop, he saw that a really icy wind was blowing and became scared. So he decided to ask his best friend Adi if it was crazy of him to accept that bet. After reflecting a while, Adi answered, "I shall help you tomorrow. When you are at the top of the mountain, look ahead. I will be on the top of the mountain next to yours, where I will spend the whole night with a bonfire lit for you. You look at the fire and think about our friendship. That will keep you warm. You will manage, and later on I shall ask you something in return." Ali won the test, got the money, and went to his friend's house. "You told me you wanted some payment." Adi answered, "Yes, but it isn't money. Promise that if at any time a cold wind passes through my life, you will light the fire of friendship for me." At school one day, little Johnny's teacher asks the class to use the word contagious in a sentence. Cindy raises her hand at "Yes, Cindy." She answers, "I was at the dentist's office with my mom, and she said not to play with the tiny toys in the waiting room because the other kids were contagious." "Very good, Cindy," the teacher said. "Anyone else want to try?" Samantha raises her hand. "Yes, Samantha," she answers. "My dad tells me not to yawn because then everybody else yawns. He says yawning is contagious." "Excellent work, Samantha. Very creative," the teacher praises. "Okay, one more volunteer." Little Johnny raises his hand. "Yes, Johnny." "Well," he says, "I was helping my dad in the yard last week, and we saw the neighbor painting his house. He was using a small brush, so I asked my dad, 'Daddy, why is he using such a small brush?' And he says, 'I don't know, son, but it's gonna take that contagious.'"